Hello guys, welcome to Middle Class Film Class. I'm your host, Tyler.
I'm Joseph.
And I'm Peter.
And today we are reviewing one of my favorite movies, the Suspiria remake. Wait a minute, isn't this the original trailer?
From Suspiria.
I don't know, it sounds like something made in 2017.
But you cannot escape. Suspiria. The only thing more terrifying than the last 12 minutes of Suspiria are the first 92.
What a tag. Oh my gosh, what a great tag.
Suspiria.
Yeah, very. Love that.
So that was from the original, right?
Yeah,
That was from the original trailer.
And I don't know if you guys seen the original trailer, like the actual trailer and
Yes,
the movie.
Joseph has now.
Okay, well, that trailer has no bearing on what the movie is. Like, it's completely just total marketing. Anyways, I'm really excited to talk about this, but first.
Are you ready, kids?
Yes, sir. Aye, sir.
I can't hear you.
Aye, sir.
Oh!
Now's the time for dab and chatter.
All right, well, don't have a lot of movie news on my end, but something did catch my eye, I
the
should say.
present
Caught my eye.
Caught my eye, literally. Ryan Gosling is going to be playing the Wolfman in a
Wolfman?
a reboot of the original Wolf.
Is it going to be
Man.
Blumhouse or Universal?
Universal, because
Going through the cinematic universe.
yeah, they're still trying to go through
dark
the
universe.
dark universe. They're just limping it along. They're just like, fuck, got to do something with this. Especially after that, like, did you guys see the promotional trailer for the Dark Universe?
I saw part of
It
it.
was just like a bunch of clips from
Yeah.
like the older movies, and they're like, "Yeah, this is what we're doing. Get excited!"
Remember this, boomers?
Yeah, exactly. I remember that.
Well, that's interesting. Gosling.
Yeah, so the script, from what has been described, is supposed to evoke the feelings of Nightcrawler, and there was something else. What was the other movie? It was Nightcrawler and something. I don't know. But anyways, I'm actually kind of optimistic about Ryan Gosling playing the Wolfman. I think he has the acting chops to do it. And I think if he has a good script and if it's evoking feelings like the Nightcrawler, then, there's a lot of good things that can happen. But I think I like a good werewolf movie.
Yeah.
Like Shitty Bullet.
Like Underworld.
Werewolf movies have a lot of potential. There's a lot of range of the kind of CGI practical effects you can do with the transformations.
Yeah.
There's always an opportunity for a good, pat on the back for a good practical effects transformation scene.
Yeah, my favorite werewolf movie, American Werewolf in London, definitely pushes forward what you can do.
Set the standard.
Yeah.
That's the gold standard.
Werewolf transformations.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And then we ended the climax of Werewolf Transformations with Wolf Cop.
Yes.
Wolf Cop.
Yeah.
With an upshot of a human dick turning into a wolf dick.
Yeah.
I've never seen this.
You haven't?
That's amazing.
That's the gold standard now.
It is practical, and it is brutal.
Quote unquote practical.
And it addresses a topic that's rife for conversation is monster genitalia. What happens when you... Does the Hulk's dick get that much bigger when he becomes the Hulk? We need to know. Let's ask Mark Ruffalo.
Or the gamma rays shrink it because... And it's just like
just goes
this,
away.
Like little, yeah.
That's why he's so mad.
Yeah.
I thought I read somewhere that his genitalia just goes away whenever he transforms into the Hulk.
That's what. That
He just becomes like a
Ken doll.
Yeah, Ken doll or.
he
Stretch
only wears the shorts out of shame of every human.
Although we do see his butt in Ragnarok.
That's true. Those legs got to end somewhere, though, unless you're the Coneheads.
Oh, God.
And then I mean, this is Gab and Chatter, so it doesn't have to always be news. So I wanted to ask you guys a question.
Okay. Yes.
Since we are reviewing a remake
Mm-hmm.
of a movie, I wanted to ask, what movies would you guys like to see remade if it was done well, or maybe so bad it was good?
Any movie?
Yeah, any movie. You know, so what do you? So do you? I mean, I know I'm putting you guys on the spot, but just like what comes to mind, like immediately?
Huh. That is a good question.
I want a Indian in the Cupboard remake, but as like a dark, like super like body horror
Yeah.
movie.
Oh my god!
for no reason, and he's just a killer. It's like the trilogy of terror with that weird like African puppet thing that kills.
Oh yeah,
Except for it's
Yeah.
the tiny Indian.
that'd be kind of interesting.
Hatching at you to death.
It'd be like a Pan's Labyrinth where everyone thought it was a kid's movie, and then they come in and you see some man bashing someone in the face with a bottle.
Well, to be honest, I think that if you're going to remake a movie, you should take a good concept that was executed poorly and remake that, rather than take a movie that everybody loves and remake it into modern terms, because it's just that's a recipe for failure. I mean, nothing comes to mind
There's
right
a
now.
lot of pressure for a movie that was an
Exactly.
iconic movie to be remade.
Yeah, why start with the bar so high?
It's like if Back to the Future was remade.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do.
You can't touch the classic.
Just don't touch it.
Do you have Indian in the Cupboard as a body horror movie?
A body horror movie.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you, in my eyes, like not a remake, but a movie that was rebooted / remade / is a sequel that is like a lot better than the original is the Blade Runner sequel. Is what, because like I feel like Blade Runner 2049 negates the need for Blade Runner 1 to even exist.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, it
is not a remake, it is a sequel, but it is like in my eyes like the perfect sequel, what a sequel should be.
to reintroduce you to the universe. I mean, Blade Runner is a really hard movie to get through for your average movie goer as well. Like it's long, it's very just droning like. So
Yeah.
But the scenery keeps you there
yeah,
if you can appreciate that.
Yeah, and it is a very interesting movie. And I mean, I think Rutger Hauer is the main character in Blade Runner 1, and Deckard doesn't serve like a
He's
vital
just some
role in the
guy.
movie. He's just like a cop, basically.
It's Harrison Ford. Doesn't matter if he's the main character.
Because
He's gonna be on the cover.
Because Rutger Hauer's character is way more interesting
Sure.
and has a way more tragic ending than Harrison Ford, who obviously goes on to live.
Dream
But
about
the
unicorns.
sequel expands upon everything that the first one has, and it just makes it so much better.
Right.
It was done with clearly with adoration too. It wasn't like just a shitty redo. It was somebody who gave a shit, which was great. And on that topic, I retract my answer. Any of the cupboards out. Dune is in, which is happening. So
yes.
that is in. If you sparked that in my head, that when the introduction of Dune being redone by Villeneuve, I was like, "Holy shit, that's a good one to redo. Great concept, but kind of a sloppy execution in the time."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I liked the original Dune.
The David Lynch Dune?
Yeah, the David Lynch Dune. I thought
He doesn't like it.
Well, I'll be an advocate for the things he doesn't like. If I had to say, if I wanted a movie remade, I thought about it long and hard, and what I was thinking is the Black Cauldron, the dark Disney movie that they made in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
What is this?
I've never heard of that.
You've never
I
heard of the
haven't-
Black Cauldron?
I've heard of it. I've seen like a poster. I've never seen the movie.
So the Black Cauldron came out in the 80s. It was a huge financial failure. It was animated. The animation was very well done. It was much in the same vein as The Sword in the Stone.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I think the Black Cauldron could...
A live action remake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did, because it deals with these dark themes, and I think it would be a really good movie to explore fantasy elements with like dark psychological dealings of evilness, and it's just I think it's really ripe for a not like a shot by shot remake, but like this is the Black Cauldron, but adult version essentially, which the Black Cauldron originally is pretty adult like.
Well, that's another concept that makes a reboot work, I think, is you take a kid's intellectual property and then scale it up 20 years to the original audience are now adults and make an adult version of that property.
Yeah,
it's a recipe for success.
Yeah, I think it could do well, but it would have to be very particularly crafted. But that's cool. So
well, real quick, if you were to take that same idea, concept though, and apply it to the Dark Universe, you take the people that were into the Mummy and the Wolfman and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they're all like 70 now. So they should just make a Clint Eastwood star in all of those.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll make a ton of money.
Elderly monsters.
Clint Eastwood and Martin Sheen.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood's like, get out of my swamp, and then shoots him with a shotgun.
I think they should remake Zardoz.
Fuck, yeah.
I'm waiting for a good remake of Zardoz.
And who's going to play
Sean Connery?
Sean Connery's character?
Ooh.
Sean Connery.
Oh, God.
Wait, he's still alive, right?
Yeah, I think.
He's still slapping women and
Technically alive.
He's talking back to him.
He's technically alive.
I don't know. That's a somewhat.
Listeners,
The
if
lead
you're
singer of
listening-
Idols. That's what I think.
Oh yeah.
he's got the facial hair.
Oh, and before I depart on my part of discussion, we got a last minute DM from one of our top fans, Michael Greaves.
What's up, Michael?
So he said this is in response to a question about Sweden from the Square.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Michael lives in Sweden.
Yes,
It's Joseph's brother.
He says, yes, people get arrested in Sweden. It's not a utopia. There is actually a lot of problems with gang violence here. Yeah, those Swedes,
I did not see this coming at all.
Neither did I.
No one got arrested in Sweden.
He says, young Joseph is correct that the majority of beggars you see are not necessarily homeless, but Roma who often come for a few months before returning to their home nation with money they earn. We have very few homeless here because there's a strong support system. Well, that's cool, Sweden. And then he
Hey, Sweden.
Hey, Sweden. That's very cool.
Then he ends, I think you guys are doing great with the show. Really enjoy listening to the discussions. One thought I had about the wild card slots is why not have those be listener submissions instead? Well,
if there was any listen,
I would say
what, for our 5 listeners?
if we we have according to our stats almost triple digits listeners.
yeah.
I'm completely not opposed to that idea at all.
I think we talked about it earlier in the series that we wanted to have the wild card picks eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
The takeaway from this is listeners, send your suggestions in.
Yeah.
I have in the back of my head, I got Ricky O, The Legend of Ricky, which was Brendan's suggestion.
Yeah.
A ghost story that Brianna suggested.
Even
Love a ghost
Michael
story.
sent some.
Yeah, Primer.
Primer and some other ones.
Primer is definitely in my catalog that's going to be added to the wheel.
Oh man, Primer is a good movie. I would love to talk about that one.
We could talk about a little bit more off air about that, but I think that's definitely in the cards. And listeners,
we do want to explore.
send more suggestions for the show, streaming picks, recommendations, non-streaming picks for the wheel, whatever you want to see.
Yeah. So thanks, Michael, for the suggestion. Thank
Cool,
you for
awesome.
listening.
Thank you.
So Joseph, you got some some
news.
some stuff.
Up until the release date, I will be talking about Tenet every week.
All right.
So I got a couple things from Tenet. One, little controversy regarding the logo of Tenet.
Oh shit! Yeah.
It is.
How can there be a controversy on the logo?
So the logo and the name. So Warner Brothers changed the logo of Tenet. It was the E and the T were the E was flipped backwards and the T was upside down, the original logo. But it was the same logo as a bicycle components company who had that logo before. And they had the exact same name.
And it was
Interesting.
Here's I'm showing Tyler because me and Joseph already seen this. This is above is
That's the movie.
and below is the bicycle company's logo.
Yes.
That's a ripoff.
Just Google Tenet bicycle logo and you'll see it.
Nolan's a hack, confirmed.
It's very interesting. It's a very weird word that I've never heard of, and it's like an even weirder word for a bicycle parts company. I think.
Isn't tenant like? Oh well, I guess tenant is spelled differently if you're occupying a rented space.
Yeah, tenant with an N.
Tenant. Oh, okay. Tenant.
So they changed the logo, I think, in the newest trailer for the movie.
Yeah, I didn't notice the upside down.
Me either. I didn't.
Yeah.
Me either. It's not a huge deal, and the owner of the bike company is not making it a huge deal either. He's just like was worried about like
him being accused of taking it from them.
him being accused of taking it from Nolan.
Oh,
So he put out a letter or a statement saying, "Hey, I had this company like 6 years ago. So I had the name and the logo.
Don't worry, I'm not suing.
Yeah, and then Nolan himself sent the owner a letter, basically saying that he's been working on this movie for 6 years. He's had the name. I don't know about the logo. I don't know like if he designed it or if somebody else designed it.
I don't think he designed it. No, there's no way.
He's been evolving it over the last 6 years, driven by palindromes, basically the symmetry of a word, and it's literally just like the same thinking. Like it's
How funny would it be if they changed the name because of the controversy and they just made it race car? And they flipped the R upside down and backwards. Hey, that's a palindrome too. You know what?
race car.
Race cars. Robert Pattinson.
So that's just like a small little controversy surrounding Tenet. Not a huge deal at all.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And no one's like the bike company's not going to sue Nolan, and Nolan's.
I'm sure they don't even have the
and
resources.
Nolan even said that he was like I'm in love with our logo, but if you have a problem with it, basically I can change it, and he did.
Yeah, I actually do have a problem, Nolan. I do.
So yeah, that's just a little controversy that's kind of past now. Another thing that I saw was that in the trailer for the new Tenet, we see a 747 crash into a building.
Mm-hmm.
Nolan purchased that 747 on his own.
On his own money?
Just so that he could crash it into a building.
I believe that it was the story goes that because that was going to be one of my stories, is that they did the math on whether or not it would be easier to CGI it or rent a partial structure of it and then CGI the rest. And then they're like, you know what? Let's just buy the plane. It's cheaper that way and crash it.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
I mean, it fits
That's
into
crazy.
Nolan's filmmaking style because it's pretty much all practical effects with Nolan. I mean, he's flipping big rigs, he's building entire sets that are rotating,
Literally reversing time in front of our eyes.
he's
Dark Knight Rises.
changing the fabric of time and how it works.
They crashed that plane for Dark Knight Rises too.
Yeah, when they're dangling, they have like an actual team.
That's an actual plane crashing?
Yeah, and they have an actual team descending from another plane onto this plane.
It's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's insane.
super impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the scale. I mean, if you think from following
yeah.
on the streets of London
God.
to crashing 747s into buildings,
And flipping semis upside down. That's
the long ways.
That's
Yeah.
hot dog style, not hamburger.
Hot dog style.
That's a glow up.
Yeah, that's in only 10 movies.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, like, who when they're financing Nolan movies, it's like if it's like the same group of investors. They're
It's
just
Warner
like,
Brothers, probably.
Yeah.
just like, oh, Nolan, yeah, here's all the money.
I mean,
all the money.
It's him and his wife who work together in every movie, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And she's a producer. Anyway, so he's buying 747s and crashing them in a building. I still have this. I just saw this one off IndieWire. It is in the 2011 Cannes Film Festival. The Tree of Life won for the Palme d'Or. Terrence Malick won it.
Yeah.
But
it was a joke.
before this article is revealing that the audience favored Melancholia
Really?
to win the Palme d'Or, but they didn't want to give Von Trier
No
prize.
shit.
And some
Why does everybody hate Von Trier so much? Melancholia was fantastic.
anti-Semitic bastard.
I mean, he is not probably a good person, but he is a really brilliant filmmaker.
I don't know anything about his personal life except for he's a instigator.
Yeah,
with
he's
his
like
movies.
he's like a troll.
Yeah.
With his movies, but he makes like great movies.
So is Werner Herzog, but we love him.
Yeah, you know, it's like love the artist, love the art, hate the artist, or something. That's kind of like the.
Wasn't he the director of Irreversible?
No, that's Gaspar Noé.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that was right. Still in like the
That's
same
like your
vein.
uncle, Tyler.
Oh yeah, good Uncle Gasper.
Good uncle, old Uncle Gasper. So yeah, the Tree of Life won, but the audience favored Melancholia, but they didn't want to give Von Trier the award.
Was Antichrist filmed after or before Melancholia?
Before. Antichrist was like 2007, I think.
So really,
Maybe.
it's not his anti-Semitism that got the snub. It
How
was
is
really
Antichrist anti-Semitic?
well, no,
he is.
no. The director himself is anti-Semitic, or I think because I read that same article. I think the reason why they didn't give it to him is because he said some anti-Semitic.
He's
stuff.
a controversial person.
But I was gonna jokingly refer that it was because of the
Yet they
scene
allow
of
his
Willem
movies.
Willem Dafoe's junk getting crushed,
Oh my
and they
God.
got spooked. They're like, "Oh, we can't." We can't.
Yeah, that was hard to watch, that scene.
Yeah, so he's a great artist, Von Trier, but he's very divisive amongst just people, the population.
Yeah.
And to end my news segment, I found this Twitter thread of Netflix tweeting out to brands specifically, what's something you can say during sex, but also when you manage a brand Twitter account.
Yes, I did see that. It's funny.
Wendy's, wow, 4 for 4.
We should post this on the Facebook page.
YouTube TV, I can't believe this is happening live. Ben and Jerry's, do you want to take a lick?
So these are brands.
These are
brands,
brands,
like actual Twitter brands.
Actual Twitter brands responding to Netflix.
What they would say, what you can say for your
during
brand recognition
sex.
and during sex.
Arby's, do you want more meat?
Can you imagine saying
Answer's
that?
always
You
yes.
want more meat?
IMDb,
Sorry, I'm vegan.
IMDb, The Mandalorian continues to dominate.
How'd you know? No, I'm not gonna say that. My mom listens to this podcast. I'm not gonna say that.
Pop-Tarts, fill me up.
Pop-Tarts?
Oh, speaking of, sorry to interrupt, but do you see the Twitter thread that's it's Jeff Goldblum's fashion choices pairing up with Pop-Tart flavors?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, continue.
TED Talks. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's what you say at the end.
Coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, thank you for coming. to my-
Petco. We hope you enjoy these new toys. And it's a picture of these elongated dog toys.
No, leave the pets out of this.
I have that toy for Nova. It was a gift from someone.
Come and Go. Not touching this one.
Is that from the Midwest?
I guess so. Mr. Peanut, I need a nut.
Come on, that's not even trying.
Yeah, that was lazy.
Give yourself another baby Mr. Peanut.
People for Bernie Sanders.
What?
We're going to make Netflix pay their taxes so hard.
I know, that's what I
That
would
was
love to
jiu-jitsu.
hear.
They used some judo on them.
Pepsi, we prefer it in the can.
Oh my God. That's working blue.
Audi, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
Howdy.
Oh boy.
Man, there's a lot of brands replying to
Dr.
this.
Pepper, trust me, I'm a doctor.
Oh, that just
This
sounds
is a
creepy.
this is a real taxi.
Outback Steakhouse. We recommend medium, firm with a warm pink center.
Oh my God. Are they allowed to put this on the internet?
HBO Max. I'm close to launch.
This is. I read this thread a while ago. This was before HBO Max was even about to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that clusterfuck of a streaming.
Moe's Southwest Grill. That's a good looking taco.
Like, has anyone ever cared about Moe's Southwest
Okay,
Grill?
I'll end it with Boston Market.
Boston Market.
You've been waiting for this stuffing all year.
Wow.
There's a lot more. But
Bravo.
you can see it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, post that to the Facebook page. I'll post the Jeff Goldblum as a Pop-Tart flavors to the Facebook page. Because that's about movies.
Technically.
All right, so I only have one story. Joseph already mentioned the 747 from Tenet, which is such a beautiful idea.
Yes.
That the megalomaniac known as Christopher Nolan decided to do that, and it's actually a good financial choice. So this is good news for the Batman.
Oh, the Robert Pattinson one.
The Batman version, yeah. He's the Batman is among a small selected group of movies that have been given the go-ahead to restart filming in the United Kingdom.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, the UK government entities have signed off on COVID-19 guidelines that are going to allow the movie and TV industry to start resuming filming again with obviously a ton of precautions. But it's being filmed in the UK, which I was not aware of, and that is very encouraging because it was the last message that we gave on this here podcast was that it was suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
And we all kind of knew it would most likely not cancel because they already filmed at least 30% of the filming, supposedly.
Yeah.
But it is starting again, so we may see the Batman on screen sooner than we thought.
You know what I think? I think the reason why they're going forward with it is because they saw the success of Joker. And they're just like, oh, that was a really successful movie. We got to push this forward.
I think, well, that's probably maybe one of the contributing factors to them starting it. But it's,
I think if Joker wasn't a success, I think the Batman would probably be shelved.
Think so?
I think so.
They probably it's probably one of their biggest invested movies right now to the Warner Brothers franchise.
Wow, I didn't know they were putting so much money into it.
I mean,
they were diverting the cost to Tenet.
It's Pattinson in a Batman lead, and those movies traditionally are pretty expensive to make. Yes. But yeah, no, I'm excited about that.
Me too.
And I'm also excited about our next segment that Joseph's going to introduce regarding Adam.
So, like last week, we had Adam on the show, and again, we are about to have him on this show in a segment that, as of right now, we are calling Adam's Plops. The reason being is that he when we were working at work and not at home, he would plop DVDs on my desk for me to watch. And and I've been exposed to movies that we've watched here on this very podcast, such as Bad Lieutenant, Protocol New Orleans.
What a great movie.
Wasn't Society one that he recommended you?
Well, he showed that at the Red Museum.
Okay. You recommend that to me, and I watched it and had a great time.
Society, streaming on Prime.
Oh my God, what a weird movie.
And also From Beyond, Dead or Alive,
Phantasm, which we watched.
The Phantasm, which is now also streaming on Prime.
Yeah.
Phantasm.
Yeah, it's
iconic, but it's terrible.
What's the other one that I saw at the Red Museum was Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh yeah, Phantom.
I think that's on Prime too.
Paradise.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, that's a fun movie.
So anyways, Adam's gonna call into us, right?
We're gonna call him.
Yeah, and what's he gonna do for the audience?
He's gonna recommend some movies.
He's gonna plop a movie on their desk.
Plop some movies into your brains. Yeah, I think it might be in line with the movie of the week.
All right, so here we go.
All right.
What's up?
Hey Adam, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
We're ready to hear a fresh movie plop down for our audience to recommend.
Welcome to Adam's Plops.
Yeah.
You want a fresh plop, do you?
Yeah. We do.
A nice steamy one.
The audience is ready, willing, and able.
Well, I was thinking about what you guys were doing today. Joseph told me I wanted to do something theme appropriate.
Okay.
All right.
And I do love Italian films a lot. Like I was introduced to, spaghetti westerns really early, and I watched a ton of those with my dad. I love the Italian stuff, and I've always been into horror. So Suspiria, of course, was like one of my favorites. It's just so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like so extreme with like the violence.
The shocking camera work and whatnot.
And Adam, did you see the trailer for the original Suspiria and how it had nothing to do with the movie?
Yeah. Yeah. Roses are red, violets are blue. The iris is the flower that will be the death of you.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever seen it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. No, it's fucking crazy. It's just like the only thing more terrifying than the last 15 minutes are the first like
59.
59, yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So great. I mean, but that's kind of how they had to market that stuff because it was so fucking weird to American audiences.
Yeah, definitely.
It was like, you're not going to understand what we're trying to say with this, so
Just want to get you in the door.
here's a bunch of crazy stuff to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, perfect. Which is great because it means size.
Oh, really?
Like to
Size.
sigh.
Oh,
That
I
is
know
what
that.
Suspiria means.
Oh.
Yeah, it means to sigh.
Oh, okay.
I don't speak French.
Yeah. Yeah. Italian.
Yeah, Italian.
What's that?
So anyway, the one that I was thinking of that stands out in my mind, it's genuinely probably my favorite Italian movie of all time. After like, Once Upon a Time in the West, is Cemetery Man,
Cemetery Man.
Cemetery.
aka Della Morte dell'Amore.
Never heard of this one.
Ah, Della Morte Amore. Oh.
Yeah, that's familiar.
Now you're speaking my language, French.
It's right, exactly. Della Morte dell'Amore is from a protege of Dario Argento, this guy named Michele Soavi. I looked it up, and he was his assistant on a few movies, and then he went on to do his own stuff. He directed a few films. I think he's still directing actually, but it's all like trash, like no one's ever seen it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Argento's do stuff, like total like garbage.
Mother of Tears.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh my God! You see Dracula?
Oh.
Anybody watch Dracula?
No, the new one?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, where can you find this Cemetery Man?
That's what's so funny is I don't know if it's available anywhere.
Mhm.
But let me just give you a rundown.
Yeah, please.
So it's Rupert Everett plays the caretaker of a cemetery, and for some reason, in the cemetery, the dead are rising from the grave. So he takes them out and he reburies them, and that's that.
Oh.
So that's like that's his fucking job.
That's his
is
job.
He takes
Oh,
care of
that's
the
funny.
cemetery. The people come back to life. He kills them. He puts them back in the ground.
He's to kill him first? Oh, that sucks.
Well, they're zombies. So yeah, I mean, it's like a super unconventional zombie movie. It's definitely a horror comedy.
Really?
It's a love story,
Does he
and
fall
it
in love
is
with a zombie?
kinda, yeah, kinda.
Pretty funny.
I mean, it's way more complex than that.
Okay.
It reminds
Okay.
me of Brain Dead a little bit.
Yeah, it's not as like overtly like gory.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Like
insanely.
like Brain Dead's like just fucking over the fucking top.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is more like it's more subtle. It more has to do with like the shot,
Mhm.
really beautiful cinematography.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the visuals, even if they hate the movie or think it's like too much. They love the visuals. But yeah, I mean, basically this existential zombie trip. This guy trying to figure out the meaning of life. He falls in love with the wife of one of the zombies.
Uh-huh.
They bury him, and then he falls in love with her, and then it's a whole thing.
Sounds multi-layered.
Oh, 94.
It's from
There's-
1994.
There's a fucking ton going on in this movie, and
Oh.
I had been into the Italian flicks for a while before I watched it, especially like the horror stuff
Yeah.
and the weird like Argento produced like demons,
Mhm.
or like I watched Soavi made a movie called The Church, which is like a really fucked up weird
Oh, yeah.
Catholic horror movie with with demon rape and stuff. It's great.
Cool.
You guys didn't get my demon rape comment. You didn't think that was very
Demon rape. I'm
shocking.
absorbing
I
it,
said
all of it.
Demon rape.
Who's
Are you
getting raped?
listening to me? This is demon.
Is the demon doing the raping or receiving the raping?
Oh, the demon is definitely raping.
Oh, okay. Well then, unfortunate.
Oh, this shit's hardcore. Anyway,
This is all in Cemetery
Anyways.
Man.
No. That's from the church.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
so I had seen the church, and I thought that movie was like fucking wild. And then Cemetery Man sort of popped on my radar.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
A little bit later, and it's like so funny. It's so bizarre. Definitely a movie night kind of pick.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I looked up both of those titles on Just Watch, and Cemetery Man's not streaming anywhere. It's the 1994 version, right, with Rupert Everett?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately. But The Church is 1989, streaming on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that
Oh,
came up
God.
as a recommendation after I finished watching the Suspiria remake.
Oh, I'm not
Really, the church?
Yeah.
Funny.
Awesome.
It's okay. There's some fun stuff in it, but honestly, Cemetery
It's
Man.
not Cemetery Man.
like
Yeah.
if you don't like Cemetery Man, I think you need to watch it again.
Oh, all right.
Like it's so, and people apparently, I don't know, it's got like 6.7% or something on IMDb, and I'm like, fuck you.
6%. Oh my
I mean, like-
God.
That's pretty funny.
Well, that's
No,
for
no,
a general.
sorry,
That's
6.7 out of 10. That's 6.7
Oh,
out of 10. not-
IMDb. Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah,
if I can track a version of it down, maybe we'll give it a watch. But
I have a DVD. I mean, I
plop it
think
on my
I have
desk,
the last
dude.
release of it.
Yeah, I thought
That's
you
why
were-
I just want to
Plop it on my
Adam's
desk.
Plop.
I thought you were gonna
Fresh.
say you can only watch it on Laserdisc. That's the only. That's
Oh, yeah.
where it's only available.
I think the last release was this DVD. I don't think it's on Blu-ray or anything.
Oh, they didn't transfer it or anything.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not
Yeah, and
enough
this is
feature
from-
people clamoring for a Cemetery Man.
Right.
Oh,
And
cool.
this is 2006.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really great. I really do. I recommend it to everybody, especially if people like zombies. Like, I kind of got over zombies, and that's part of the reason why this movie appealed to me. Is it's like it's not really. It's got zombies, but it's not about zombies.
Sure.
It's a fresh
Um,
take.
Yeah.
It's way more cerebral.
Yeah.
Cool,
yeah.
man. Well,
That's a word I
we
can mispronounce.
we appreciate the recommendation for our audience, and thanks for calling in, buddy.
Yeah.
Of course. Thanks for having me, as usual. And I'll
Yeah.
try to come up with something with more mass appeal.
Some accessible.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Well,
I guess it depends on what you guys watch.
yeah.
So
No, whatever. We want your take on it. If it's able to be watched on one of my streaming services, even better. But if it's worth seeking out from Amazon, it's not the worst thing in the world to have buy a DVD on Amazon.
Or Laserdisc.
Yeah. To invest in
Yeah,
a
right,
Laserdisc
exactly.
player.
Yeah, I actually
it probably has a Laserdisc release.
I downloaded a version of Cemetery Man in ASCII. It's really weird. It's all text. All right, man. We'll get in touch with you on a future episode, and we'll see you next time for your next plop.
Word. You know where
Tune
to find
in
me.
next time for Adam's Plops.
Later, buddy.
Later.
Great
Alright,
guy.
Cool. So we're segue right into streaming picks, yeah.
Yeah.
Stream.
We really need music
Picks.
for these segments.
I almost came up with a little tune for Adam's Plops. Like I almost recorded it before I came over here, but just like a little guitar tune, just like a G C D minor chord, and Adam's Plops. Like,
Well,
If our listeners have any musical acumen whatsoever, and you don't want to send a movie recommendation or send us some
song.
theme song.
but you want to put in the effort to write and
Yeah.
record a song. Send it. Do that instead.
we have our budget for music procurement is $5.
split between 3 people.
Yeah, so we can pay up. Yeah, we can pay up to $1.75 a piece.
Yeah.
Tyler,
All right.
you
You
want to
could
lead this
be-
thing off?
Yeah, so my streaming pick this week, man, I had one streaming pick and then I canceled it. I'll quickly
Cancel culture is
Canceled.
ruining our podcast.
I canceled it because I thought it was a little bit too on the nose, just because it was a shitty movie that I watched on Amazon
It's
Prime.
not supposed to be a shitty movie. It's supposed to be a good movie.
Well, it's I would only recommend it to see the insanity of Gary Busey's acting in this, and that is 2003's Quigley.
Quigley.
It's a movie about Gary Busey being turned into a dog. It's a whole thing.
Is it a kids movie?
Yeah, it's a kids movie, but it highlights Gary Busey's insanity.
They remade it into The Shaggy Dog starring Tim Allen. And then later there was Kevin Spacey did one, but he was a cat.
Yeah, so I won't get into it too much. So if you guys, listeners out there,
watch it or don't watch it.
Watch it or don't watch it. It's a terrible movie, but it was funny.
All right.
But my real streaming pick is streaming on HBO Max. Which
Max.
HBO
to the max.
Yeah. So you guys
don't watch HBO, fuck you.
You guys might be surprised by this pick because it is considered a children's movie.
My gosh.
Damn.
I know, it's crazy.
This pandemic is changing you.
It is. My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's not a kids movie.
Well, okay, so all ages movie, you should say.
Totoro is like a pedophile death god, or so they say.
So My Neighbor Totoro, everyone should be familiar with this movie. And if you're not, it's about this family who moves to some rural place and they find a spirit in the forest, and
A little girl finds a spirit.
yeah, and
It should be mentioned that this is a Studio Ghibli animated Japanese movie.
A classic. Like the
Classic.
iconic
Yeah.
Ghibli movie.
in disclaimer though, like
It's in the logo.
I just want to say that every time I watch a Studio Ghibli movie, the music it's so effective to me that like I choke up every time I hear
Yes. they
any
have-
sort of like Spirited Away or
Yeah.
Princess Mononoke or My Neighbor Totoro. Like I'll just be like, oh my god, the nostalgia.
Only way it could get better if it was Tom York doing it.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. I mean, he might yodel it rather than music. But My Neighbor Totoro is an all-ages film by Studio Ghibli. It's
Directed by Hayao Miyazaki.
Yep, Hayao Miyazaki at leaping off into his prime. And
Does HBO Max have all of the Ghibli properties?
I was gonna say that they do, except for one,
What?
Grave of the Fireflies, which
That's
is,
not a Ghibli movie.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yep, it was one of their first Ghibli movies, and it is the most horrifyingly depressing movie ever. But I actually recommend HBO Max. I recently got it. There's a ton of great content, and just as a side note, they're actually picking up a show by the creator of the regular show, that he was going to make an adult cartoon with the same animation style of the regular show. And I was really hyped about it. TBS was going to pick it up, and then they're just like, fuck it. And so HBO Max is like, okay, we're going to take it. And so, so they have all the Ghibli movies minus the Grave of the Fireflies. I would watch My Neighbor Totoro just because it's a...
then Spirited Away, then Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, it's all great films. I mean, really, my streaming pick actually kind of transcends from My Neighbor Totoro to all of those other movies. So that's
Fair enough.
What's the best Ghibli movie?
Spirited Away. 100% Spirited Away. Mononoke is the... But... Well, what would you say?
Princess Mononoke.
Okay. Well, that's... I respect that decision.
I would say Grave of the Fireflies.
Well, that's the most gut-wrenching.
I've actually only ever seen Spirited Away. So.
Oh, and one...
Oh, yeah, I did see Princess Mononoke, too. It was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
One more thing about My Neighbor Totoro is that there is a fan theory saying that the two girls are dead.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
And that's why they're on the tree with the spirit.
Mhm.
And
Spoilers.
if you haven't seen Totoro already, come on.
Well,
what are you doing?
To be fair, Miyazaki or Ghibli, I can't remember if it was Miyazaki or Ghibli, just came out with a statement saying, "Yeah, that's not true."
Oh well, I
Just-
don't care
just-
what the creators
I know.
say.
So there's obviously
I'll believe
theory.
what I believe.
I mean, there's theories that Totoro is the god of death, which is literally just theories, and then Ghibli denying it.
yeah,
So it's
that's
like
true.
you can. I mean, it's art, so you can interpret it however you want to.
but I just thought it was interesting, and it kind of adds more depth to the movie. And
Well, it makes it not that fun if you think of it that way.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my glowing endorsement for HBO Max and Studio Ghibli.
Nice.
HBO Max.
To the max.
All right. I have one streaming pick that I have been wanting to watch for years since it came out, and finally did watch it. This is Locke.
Oh, yeah.
Streaming on Netflix.
I've been putting this off for a long time. Is it good?
Yes, it is very good. It is a one-man show starring Tom Hardy, driving from
And his lips.
Yeah, and his lips. This is a young Tom Hardy. This is a young in his career Tom Hardy, 2014.
While he
Lips
still
were
had
so
a
full.
MySpace and taking selfies.
Yeah. Oh God. Don't look that up. And this is one man show. There are other characters in the movie, but you only see Tom Hardy driving in his BMW from. He's an hour and a half outside London because this movie is in real time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an hour and 25 minutes long, and he's just on the phone with different people the entire time. And basically, he plays Ivan Locke, a man who's very successful in his career. He's the best foreman
Like a construction
around.
site or something?
Yeah, and
I didn't even know you could be a best at the foreman
He's
position.
on the eve of the biggest cement pour in London in London history.
High stakes.
It is
Can't go
And
wrong.
the cement is already mixed.
It's very weird because I'm getting
That is
I'm
weird.
getting a lot of like information about cement and and I'm like, it's got to be this specific mix of cement.
You use basalt in that, you motherfucker.
So this stars Tom Hardy. Olivia Colman plays a mistress character, which is kind of basically the reason his life is falling apart. That's basically the movie. Is his life is falling apart. He's on the eve of this giant job that's like $100 million worth of cement being poured the next day, and he's putting it on the shoulders of this other guy who's never done anything like this in his life before.
He's delegating it to him.
He's delegating it to him,
Oh, no.
and he's on the phone with him, telling him what to do. He's very meticulous in his. He's obsessed with his buildings.
He's the
that he-
Kubrick of cement.
that he makes, like, because he refers to it as his building. Like, this is
Yeah.
my building.
Yeah.
My building will steal the sky. And like my building will cast a shadow a mile long.
We shall fight in the shade.
Yes, fight in the darkness. Yeah, and at the same time, he's traveling to London because his mistress is giving birth to a baby, his baby, and it's very tense.
and it's all contained in his BMW.
All contained in his BMW. He's talking on the phone. No, there's no music, like, or anything really. There's just like kind of droney sounds of the traffic
All right.
and all this. Olivia Colman, a young Tom Holland voice that you hear. The actor who played Andrew Scott, who played Moriarty in the Sherlock series with Benedict Cumberbatch, Ruth Wilson, and some other people that you don't really need to know about. But it's a very interesting. If you're into literally one man shows, it is the Tom Hardy show for an hour and a half, and it is
Cool.
very tense.
Where's it streaming?
Netflix.
Oh, no excuse not to watch.
Yes.
Cool. You got any other ones you can
Nope.
do? Mine.
That is it.
All right, I'm going to run through a few things that I watched this week that are worth talking about, but not at length. On Netflix right now, The Lovebirds 2020, Kumail Nanjiani, and what is the other? What's the girl's name? Issa Rae. I recognize her from some stuff, but not. I couldn't tell her name. Fun romantic comedy, a la Date Night with Tina Fey and the guy from The Office. What's his name? Steve Carell.
Oh.
How could you forget that one?
I just had a brain fart. It was fun enough. It was kind of indie quirky comedy, and it was done by Michael Showalter. So if you're into that scene, that's for you. I watched the classic anime Akira on Hulu.
Nice.
from 1988. Didn't land for me. Animation was really impressive, but it was, I don't know, the story kind of went nowhere for me. I mean, it went a lot of places, but it was really convoluted and kind of over dramatic.
I think that the animation carries that movie. I think that's why it makes it so.
No, it was cool. I mean,
classic.
It was worth a watch. But you got to be an anime guy to get into it. I'm sure this would be in your top tier of animes.
AKA, you have to be a weeaboo.
Yeah, you got to be a weeb for that. And then I'm gonna go down a rabbit trail because we also got HBO Max, and they have Kurosawa movies, almost all of them on there. And I've been wanting to go back and watch his catalog. I've seen Seven Samurai a couple times, and it was fantastic. And he's Kurosawa's kind of a groundbreaking movie maker, and a lot of modern stuff is based off of his movies. So I watched Yojimbo from 1961, one of my favorite years of Cars, 1961. And he made this is a kind of a lone roaming samurai for hire. It goes to a town that has two gambling bosses in town, and he pits himself against the two bosses to try to make the most money from their plight. He's like setting traps for them and faking kidnappings and killing the other side's team and then blaming it on the other team so he can get the most money out of it. And it's an interesting, it seemed like a part that would be played by Clint Eastwood if this was an American-made movie, and it was really good. That's on HBO Max. But again, you got to be in a specific state of mind to want to watch a Kurosawa movie. But a very accessible movie, which I will recommend, streaming on Netflix, is called The Endless. You guys heard of that one?
It sounds familiar.
So it looks kind of like a supernatural kind of sci-fi sort of thing from the poster, and it's basically a brother, a couple of brothers as adults, and you find out through exposition that the older brother broke them out of a cult when they were younger.
I stream picked this.
Did you?
Like weeks ago. Like,
is it really? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like a low budge.
I don't remember the name of it.
He subconsciously
It was
remembered.
a low budget movie. Like the effects aren't that great or anything, and the acting isn't like super great, but the story is really interesting. They're stuck in a time loop.
Yeah, the whole time I was watching it, I'm like, this movie sounds so familiar. It was really, really good. But the funny thing about it was that when I watched it, you know what, I might have even added it to my list right during the streaming thing pick, and just added it because I was like, where did this come from on my streaming list? I use an app called Just Watch.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is you can just click add to watch list, and I just pick through all these movies that I hear recommendations throughout the months. But as I was watching it, remember the scene where they go to the house and the guy's handcuffed to the wall?
Yeah.
I seen that scene before somewhere, and I'm like, I know that house.
This seems familiar.
I know that house, and I know that the handcuff to the wall thing would happen in that house. And it was a movie that the same writers and directors made. It was called Resolution from 2012.
Okay.
Also streaming on Amazon Prime. And it's a guy that goes and takes his friend out in the middle of nowhere to try to break his addiction, his like meth addiction. And he chains him to a pipe in the wall and just basically leaves him on a
Is this
bed.
before or after the Endless?
This was like 4 years before.
Oh, okay.
Resolution was 2012.
So is that like an Easter egg?
I think so. Yeah.
And for them, anyway.
Same writers and directors. Yeah, this was 6 years later they made The Endless, but so I agree with Joseph. Good streaming pick.
Yeah, it's really
endorsements.
A really interesting story.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I mean, it is low budget, and the effects aren't so great, but yeah, it's worth a watch.
They were pretty effective for what they do, and they do a good job of like the bit with the magic trick and the ball, and then it pays off later, and the bit with the rope, and there's kind of like something there that I won't spoil it, but it's very accessible. It's an easy watch. It's just a hair over an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah.
And tune in for our 6 episodes later where I recommend it as a streaming pick.
Yeah.
Like, have you guys ever heard of The Endless?
It is 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Pretty high.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell that it's low budget and stuff, and maybe some of the acting is not the best, but I'm picking nits.
It's a sleeper for
Yeah,
sure.
It's a good quality one. So check out The Endless on Netflix
All right, cool.
or Hoopla.
Oopla.
Hoopla.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
Cool.
Time for The Whisper.
Time for The Whispered. So this is, we're going to talk about Suspiria, the remake by Amazon Studios.
Oh yeah, they were the production company.
So
He has a name. It's Luca Guadagnino, another Italian filmmaker.
What did Luca do?
Call Me by Your Name.
Oh yes.
So for our listeners out there, Suspiria remake is streaming on Amazon Prime, so you guys can go and watch this and then come back and listen to this, or I don't.
If
care.
you don't care,
I don't
if
care
you
what
just
you
want
guys
to
do.
2018, made in 2018, starring a bunch of
As long
people.
as you're listening.
Bunch of people you wouldn't recognize, and also Chloe Grace Moretz and Tilda Swinton.
Well, actually, and the girl from 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh yeah, Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson, which I kept thinking, I was like, Dakota Fanning?
Yeah.
Dakota Johnson.
I couldn't pick her out of a crowd if I wanted to.
All right. Well, so Suspiria remake, I think, I'm just going to put it out there first, is that I think this is how remakes should be done. This was beautifully made. It's a runtime of 152 minutes, which may seem intimidating.
It's very long.
It doesn't feel long, though, for me.
There's a little drag at the end of the second act, I think. Could have probably pinched out a lot of the stuff about the old man, the doctor.
Oh yeah.
I'll get into that aspect as well. A little bit of trivia. This is based off of a 1977 movie by Dario Argento.
Woo!
You proud of me, Ma? I didn't mispronounce anything. Have you guys seen the original one?
No.
Yes. Pete, yes.
Okay.
Joe, no.
Okay. So these two movies are polar opposites on how they are done.
So glad you said that. I was worried you were going to say they were so similar.
Oh no. No. So while the original one hinges on the technical filmmaking aspect to make it a good movie, the remake focuses on the story that is presented.
Although the technical aspects are pretty amazing as well.
That is true. But with the original one, it's more about like the colors.
Yeah, the color scheming in the original.
Visuals, aesthetic of the movie.
Yeah, the camera movements and the color themes on the original is, I mean,
extreme.
It's 77, right? You said?
Yeah, it's 1977.
A lot of more like modern movies, even like Gaspar Noé stuff and Nicholas Winding Refn use like a lot of like hard color palettes in like different scenes to invoke different emotions, or even almost for like a visual motif for certain characters.
So what the original has going for it is the score and the visuals, because the story is basically non-existent in the original.
It really only shows up in like the last 15 minutes or so, like the
trailer says.
Yeah. You're like, what is happening? And all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, you're like, oh shit, okay, there's a lot of wrap up.
So originally, the Suspiria movie was supposed to be a trilogy, which he did attempt to do. I never been compelled to watch his sequels to Suspiria, but I've heard that they kind of just like get worse and worse, and then you get to Mother of Tears, which was made in I think 2007.
2007.
Yeah, he took a break after Inferno, which is the sequel to Suspiria, and then he made Mother of Tears, which was panned.
And then Glenn Danzig covered that movie. Made Mother.
Yep.
Which ties into Suspiria, to be honest, because like you could re-edit that last scene of the Suspiria remake with Mother.
Oh, Glenn Danzig.
Danzig's mother instead of Tom York.
Well,
oh yeah, that's the soundtrack is Tom York of
that's right.
Radiohead.
So anyways,
I thought they used him really well too. By the way, I liked it a lot.
So,
yeah, that's great.
So initial thoughts after watching it, how did you guys feel? Like, did you like it, or?
I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, thank God.
I really did enjoy this movie. So you're on the up right now, Tyler.
Yes. You have to replace this with another movie. Tread carefully, man.
I enjoyed it a lot. As I was watching it, I was coming to the realization that I enjoy movies that make me feel uncomfortable
Sure.
Like I enjoy like if a movie can pull out an emotion out of me that I'm not familiar with, then that movie is something else.
Definitely.
It is. I mean, that first like big dramatic scene of Olga.
Oof, yeah.
I was like, my mouth was agape watching this. You have these parallel, like this beautiful, like interpretive dance happening, and then you have this awful, horrible thing, disfigurement happening to this person.
Yeah.
It
I
was
don't know why I'm laughing at
the
that. That was awful.
The juxtaposition was just like
Oh, yeah. I thought it was used very gratuitously.
it was. I mean, that scene that I was into the movie already, but that scene I was like, oh,
That was the moment that it turned into a different movie.
yeah. I was like, I'm nervous, but I am excited to see where this will go, and I was happy where it went. And disturbed. And I drew a lot of parallels to The Witch.
Oh, all right.
There was
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, I feel like if you like The Witch, you would like this movie.
Definitely.
I also enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I had a lot of fun watching it. Even like the difficult to watch parts was like, oh my god, this is so
this
like
is
gut,
fucked up.
yeah, it's gut wrenching in some scenes. I think maybe I was expecting it to be a little bit more toned down in some of the more like graphic stuff, and I think it probably could have, improved the movie a little bit if I were to be at the helm, but I wasn't. Luca Guadagnino was, and
Didn't hit me up.
and he's got my number. I don't know why, but the parallels was very cool. The whole like women's empowerment thing was pretty cool too. Like it was all very like
Very
feminist.
yeah, very feminist, and it didn't really go into the. I was watching it with Bree, and she watched the original. We watched the original together a long time ago, and I really enjoyed that one. And this was a very different movie than the original. So
Almost like not even like.
well, that's exactly it. I think that I wrestle with the idea of what you said about you saying this is the right way to do a remake is do your own thing. But at the same time, I feel like you could just not call it Suspiria and call it something else, and it would be just as good. Almost for me,
Yeah.
almost better. Like I was expecting
But
a type of movie or a feeling. I was expecting to feel a certain way, and it was polar opposite to that. It was in near the end a sci-fi cult body splatter movie,
yeah,
but
that ending is amazing.
it was crazy. I think it lost me a little bit at the end scene, but the things that I appreciated about it was I love a great dance number, and there was a lot of them in this.
Sure.
yeah.
And I like that. I really enjoyed Climax, Gaspar Noé's Climax.
Oh, that yes.
And it's-
It was like the rave.
Yeah,
or a
French-
ballet
French
dance
LSD
rave.
fueled dance
Yeah.
party.
I've been
Yeah.
meaning to watch that.
Yeah, that was really fun because of the dance numbers and stuff. But I enjoyed that, and I liked the parallels. Like Joseph said, there was it's no secret the movie is about like a witch coven housed within a dance studio,
Yes.
and the dancing was like casting spells on people.
It was very
Yeah.
witchy.
Yeah,
That's what I really. That's what I really liked about this movie, more so than the original, is that the original takes place in a dance academy. Not to like keep comparing it to the original, but the dancing was much more important, and I think that was really effective in how it's creating the mood of like, okay, so this is an evil dance academy. And
they're a little ham-fisted with like the whole witch thing because in the original that you don't find out really they're witches until like the very end. There's no
do
hints.
you think that was a fault? That it was more so on the witch side? Because I thought that was a strong point.
not because they leaned on it, but because of I remember one specific scene where the girl says in her book that they're witches or something like that in her notebook, or
Yeah.
witches or something. She called them
Yeah.
witches as she left. And,
I know.
And all the
Witches.
witches like looked at each other like, do they know? It was like, that was
Of
kind
course
cheesy.
they know.
Yeah, I mean, I could have gone either way with that. Like, I mean, because the opening scene is Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah.
And
having a panic attack.
she's like,
Thank
well,
God I don't have to say
we're,
her name.
We're in 1977, the original time, the original year that the original movie was made.
Oh, I thought. Well, yeah, it was during the Berlin Wall controversy, or
No, there was some
conflict.
terrorist.
Yeah, there was a terrorist group.
They
Going.
hijacked a plane. There was like, yeah, that was like
based on real.
there was like a
events.
side plot going on with that. But Chloe Grace Moretz has escaped this dance company. This is the beginning of the movie, and we see her go to the doctors,
Like a psych.
a
Psychologist,
psychiatrist,
therapist.
psychologist. And I don't even, was that guy actually German? Was he an actually old guy?
It's actually Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
That's
yes,
Tilda
it
Swinton.
Oh,
is.
okay. I was like, is this actually an old person?
And so is Marcos. Mother Marcos is also Tilda Swinton.
I'm not surprised.
If you when I rewatched this movie and knowing that the old guy was Tilda Swinton, I was just like, oh God damn it, the voice, I'm not going to be able to ignore it now.
I know.
The second I saw that character, I thought this is a younger person in prosthetics.
I know. I was like, this is not an old man.
but,
But
yeah,
it wasn't bad. The makeup, the old makeup,
well,
I
it was good. It was
I
good.
didn't even
I was
notice
just
it.
expecting there to be either two things: either a flashback to when he was younger, because I thought it was a dude in
Yeah.
the old makeup,
Uh-huh.
or him doing some acrobatic some physical feature that an old man couldn't do in real life. Instead, like Johnny Knoxville, skateboarding as an old man.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking Toni Collette in Hereditary, where she's climbing up those walls.
Exactly. Took words out of my mouth.
Anyway, so yeah, the beginning of the scene, it's like suspicious. She's like singing and dancing in this therapist's office, and she's like kind of acting like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And she's talking about she wanted to be inside of me. She can hear me. She can see me.
She stole my hair.
She stole my hair,
urine.
my urine, which was weird. I mean, it's a witchiness. I don't question this. So we get like that's the first hint. I don't think the word witch is said in that first
No.
part of the movie.
It's not. She isn't. She doesn't say it until like later on. But they definitely like lean on it. Like they lead the audience to know the hook. I mean, but again, with it, the first dance routine of the red haired chick, Dakota Johnson.
The audition.
I guess it's the second one.
Okay.
Her performance where
Where she
Olga
takes
gets
over the
fucked up.
lead, yeah.
That you see the little spirit thing go into her hand when she presses on her palms. And you see
Yeah.
like
I was like, whoa.
yeah. And then you see the energy going into her feet.
And
Yeah,
you see that
I
horrific
think-
scene.
Yeah,
I'm okay with the strong implications of the witchiness and the magic and stuff, but I also could have done without it.
It's
Leave a little more to imagination.
yeah, it's a very small criticism for me. But when you're learning writing in like junior high, they say, "Show me, don't tell me."
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to say, they're witches.
You know what I think? I think the cutaways. If we're going to talk about that scene where she's like under a spell, and she's controlling Olga's body
Yeah.
in that secret room.
Yeah.
I think the cutaways are very appropriate. Like it's not just like all just deformed body or all just dancing. Like it definitely
no.
there's a
No,
really
it's
good middle ground.
Very well shot scene.
Very well shot, very well edited scene. It was,
And then like when she's like all contorted and she pisses herself, that was like
she like
it,
vomits and pisses herself.
It was like the cherry on top of like how far they're gonna go. Like it definitely gives you a sense of danger with the witches, especially in the beginning. And then after that scene, it backs away. Like it's like, okay, so we're gonna not. And I forgot the meat hooks.
Yeah,
Where they just go like right into her back and then drag her
that.
away.
I was like, so being all like contorted. I was like, whoa, God,
bad enough.
That's
She was
bad.
still
And then
alive.
all the other mothers,
Yeah,
they're just like surrounding her, and I thought she was dead.
yeah.
I
but
did too, but
she's just
she was still
gurgling.
breathing.
She's
She's
just like, how would anyone be alive?
Yeah.
And then they take the hooks
Witch
out,
magic.
and then they show the makeup and the effects were really good because
was
it's just
good.
like
very
right,
unsettling.
right in.
Oh God.
And then they back away from that kind of brutality, and they're just like, okay, so now she's Susie rises through the ranks, while the subplot is of the old man who is suspicious of
The dance company.
The dance company. He doesn't know why he is. He doesn't believe that they're witches, but he thinks there's something going on. So he can't.
His actual explanation when he's talking to the police is that he thinks that you can use your make people believe in your religion, quote unquote religion, which is this coven, the witch coven, and use it to have people cause real life violence, a la the protesters and the
RAF.
Yeah, exactly. And that's his interpretation is that this crazy Moretz came to my office and she's got something going on down at that dance studio, and I'm going to tell the cops.
On.
And he clearly doesn't think it's a witch thing, but he tries to warn Anna, I think the girl's name is Shia LaBeouf's IRL wife.
Sarah.
Sarah,
Sarah.
Her name's Sarah. Yeah.
He tries to warn her at the lunch, and she's like, "Fuck off!"
Going on.
But it worked. He planted that noodle inside of her head, and now she's looking through the hallways, and she sees the meat.
Yeah,
hooks.
she was the most against that anything was going on at all, and then she starts investigating a little further. She
planted that seed.
Yeah,
with
planted
his
the seed.
finger.
Yeah, and so Susie rises through the ranks very quickly because Madame Blanc, she sees there's some weird connection that you can see immediately. She almost teleports into the room.
Little does she know why she feels so strongly for her.
That's why I really like this remake of Hocus Pocus. It was really well done.
Yeah. Except for in this version, there's more than 3 sisters. There's 12 of them.
Yeah.
It's actually a remake of Hocus Pocus and The Witches starring Angelica Houston.
Oh, sure. So she rises through the ranks really quickly. She's obviously a very talented dancer coming from some Amish community.
Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then you have the subplot of the old man being kind of weird and just there's something kind of weird going on, while also he's just living through you can see him walking through the streets, and there's all this violence going on.
Why was that important to show the old man taking a train to another train, going from East Berlin to West Berlin, walking down the country road, putting his
to get to his
I think it was
house.
Yeah, so
why do they have to show him eating a sandwich 4 times?
So my interpretation is that it's them trying to make you soften from the brutality of the witches. You kind of want to, it almost seems like the movie is trying to make you forget that there's witches happening. It's kind of just in a background, and then once you get in, you're just oh shit.
I think also because there's no sympathetic character in the dance company. The only character we sympathize with is the old man. And
Sarah, you feel bad for Sarah.
Yeah, kind of, but not for a little bit. But
she's her friend.
But that's for only part of the movie. This is the whole movie because we find out that his wife went missing in his past. He's an old man. He has to travel so far. He's walking hella long.
He's got that big ass hearing aid.
Yeah, it's snowing, which never is brought up. Which I like details that are never brought up for any reason. And
it's just good character building.
And the end of the movie. Because there's a shot in when we first get to his house where he had him and his wife with the heart carved into the house in the corner.
Yeah.
And he puts his hand on it, and it's oh, he has a lost love.
Yeah, it is sweet. You do sympathize for the guy.
But what happens to him? It's don't do this to the old man.
I know. Is he gonna show his dick now? Come on.
And so I
like this guy.
With that said, though, he finds after they call the cops in, which is a really hilarious scene where
when they get hypnotized.
Where Sarah and Susie are investigating, and they look through the peephole, and
they
make
see so much more sense now after watching the ending. Why she says nothing. The 2 girls, the main girl Susie and her friend Sarah, who's her little companion, reassuring her. They find some creepy stuff, and they're trying to look for records in the office, and
they're looking for Patricia's.
Yeah,
they're looking for a phone number.
Yeah,
because she's skeptical that Olga didn't get home.
Yeah, and they And so she's like, you should look around, see if there's anything else. And Susie looks in the other room and she sees two of her teachers, essentially, which are actually witches, but she doesn't know that. And they're tormenting these two cops that they've came in to question
Laughing
them.
at their genitalia.
And she's got, they're hypnotized and they're like frozen in time and their pants are down and they're like laughing at their dicks and like acting like they're going to poke through them with the meat hooks.
Yeah, the meat hook.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God.
I know it's going to happen. And then she backs away, shuts the door, and goes back into this quiet room. And Sarah's like, "Did you see anything?" And she goes, "Nope, nothing." They go away. At the time, I thought that was a weird choice. Like maybe I don't know. Like she was in shock or something. But after you find out who Susie is, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
She just wanted to let the coven play out, let the whole like drama play out.
And then we go through like, you know, dance trainings where, you know, it's almost montage, like where she is just like trying to improve herself, and Madame Blanc is at the same time is giving her nightmares while she's sleeping, which I think that's the most
that was really well done.
The most horror aspect of the movie.
It's
the quick frames of horrific
yeah,
stuff.
it's very old style of shock.
It's like
shock horror,
flashes.
shock editing.
Yeah.
Not quite a jump scare, but almost like the
It's
same
just
thing.
like, oh, it's bad imagery.
Yeah.
It's like those old it is shock horror where it's like that footage of the woman who's getting like her eye cut and like jelly comes out.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Again, it's a Clockwork Orange, the footage that they show the instigators.
Oh yeah.
And
that's
it's
a good way.
And
to
it's
put
literally, I thought, I mean, at first, I mean, if it didn't have the context of it being a nightmare, it would be like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
You know,
Sure.
you know, if it's good that it has like, oh, these are nightmares that there's like bad images that she's watching.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was effective enough too that I could put myself in that role and think I've had nightmares that are like this. It doesn't make sense, but it creeps you out. It gives you an uneasy feeling at the end of the night, and you wake up and you're like, oh fuck, no more of that, please.
Yeah, and one of the other dancers comes in and is like, I dreamed of hairballs and toilets for 3 weeks before I got a good night's sleep.
Yeah, they're all just complacent with whatever this creepy place is because they want to be in this great dance studio.
Yeah.
And then we get to the the main dance where they've all been training for, and they invite the old man. Like they're just like, yeah, come on, because they need a witness to this
For some reason.
But while that performance is happening, you see, I think it's Sarah.
Sarah, yeah, she's off.
She's off discovering the catacombs of this academy.
Well, she finds the entrance once, and then she doesn't investigate really. She steals the meat hook and takes it to the doctor, and then on the day she does this on the night of the dance, and she is like walking through the hallways, the catacombs, and then all these like cartoonish black holes from Looney Tunes start showing up,
harking back to Space Jam.
Yeah, and she compound fractures her shin, and it's
man. And then
She's
the witch
got
is
a
just
great scream, by the way.
The witches just put their hand over and just like, we can do this.
They heal her.
We're gonna half heal you. We're gonna cover the skin so you can't see the blood, but the bone you can still see is out of place.
Yeah, and then they hypnotize her.
Yeah, and then she does the performance, and then this is kind of where I thought the movie started dragging, was after the main performance a little bit. But what I do remember is that getting towards like the last, it's like in the third act essentially, the old man, after throwing the meat hook off of the bridge and everything, he discovers his old long lost lover,
which is
Jessica Harper
from the original
Harper.
Suspiria.
Jessica Harper.
Is it really?
Yeah, she's the main character. And,
oh, that's cool.
I thought that was a great callback.
Hats off, Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah.
And this was probably the most intense last half of the movie I have seen in a while, where he's so enamored with reuniting with his long lost love.
At his house,
and he's walking hand in hand with her, like canoodling, and he's
elated.
He's loving life with his long lost love.
Anka.
Yeah.
Anka, yeah.
And she leads him on a walk, and next thing he knows, he looks up and he's in front of the dance studio, and he looks back and she's gone.
Ooh, I mean, even thinking about that just gave me chills.
And that banshee comes out of the place and is like, ah!
I thought too.
I mean, I wasn't surprised that she wasn't real.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way she's real. She just
well,
appears
yeah,
out of nowhere.
you thought it was weird, but
I didn't think of it at all. Bree said it right before she disappeared. She's like, I don't think she's really there. I'm like, and then he turns around, she's gone.
and then the quiet, like it's like still, like the snow is going.
Yeah.
You can hear nothing because snow cancels out air, so it truly has that like
Everybody suffocates to death when it snows.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean,
It's a sound block.
yeah. So then all of a sudden you hear like a banshee scream, and you're like, oh,
And that's when they fully embraced their witchiness.
yeah,
Yeah.
She gives the classic witch cackle. She's like, ah!
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And,
she runs out and grabs him.
Yeah.
and then this is where the movie completely shifts into a way different like.
They took a page out of Society's book, and they just went full
Time for the
batshit.
shunting.
Yeah.
And so and this old man is confused as hell. He's like, "Why me? What the fuck?" and,
I'm innocent.
And they strip him and they throw him on the ground
In the
and-
basement.
In the basement,
Basically, the temple.
And then you see a
Yeah.
bunch of naked women and dancer witches.
I thought they made a throne out of all the dead.
They did kind of. It was
But
it was a
It was all
pentagram.
No, I thought they made a throne out of the dead dancers.
Oh, the dead dancer.
and then
Oh,
and then
yeah.
they just sort of like part away.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
And
And
so
the subplot that we haven't really talked about in this episode that is, I did appreciate how sparse they were about it. There's the two main mothers. There's Mother,
Mother Madame Blanc,
Blanc,
and then
Madame Blanc, and then Mother
Madame
Marcos.
Marcos.
And so they take,
And you don't see Marcos.
you don't even know, you don't even know who the
she
fuck
is.
Marcos is. And at the beginning, the first time you see all the witch teachers together in their like teachers lounge or whatever at the breakfast table,
yeah.
they all are just taking votes, and they don't explain what the vote is. They just say Marcos or Blanc, and everybody gives their vote verbally. Marcos, Blanc, Blanc, Marcos, Blancos, Marcos, and then they say, "Well, we've had an agreement. It's Marcos, and since we've all taken a vote, we are voting to try again." Since what's Chloe's character's name?
Mortez?
Patricia.
Yeah,
Patricia.
Patricia.
Since Patricia,
Mortez.
since Patricia didn't work, we're gonna try it again, and that's when they start basically grooming the Dakota Johnson's character.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there was really like a Tilda's Madame Blanc and Susie. You could feel like there was a sympathetic feeling from Madame Blanc. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, actually, I don't know if I want to sacrifice you. I have like this motherly connection.
I don't know if that's what it was though. I think she was worried because Marcos, if she sacrificed it, Marcos would go to power.
Oh,
Yeah.
That she's like, well, this ain't right. Maybe we should wait a little bit, guys. Wait for the next vote.
So we get into the basement of this dance academy, and this is where we
How have
first
we got
see-
to the end of this movie so quickly? This is 2.5 hours. Veronica was only an hour and a half.
Well, it's more for the listener. Veronica is a lot more to.
There's a lot more to this movie than
There
Veronica.
could be a part
Hey,
two, Veronica.
There were three. Please God, no. Take me now. There was 3 parts to Veronica though. It was like we had to talk about it 3 times as long.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
that was difficult. But so this
So
is
we're in the basement.
Yeah, the basement. This is where the movie takes a very like crazy shift, and this is where you see Madame Marcos for the first time
She's wearing sunglasses.
wearing sunglasses.
She's a woman.
She
Appreciates her fashion.
she she is a goblin of a creature, like just like looks terrible, like a slug, like a human slug, like almost like how if Jabba the Hutt fucked Leia and then Leia gave birth, that would be Madame Marcos.
It looked like in the original RoboCop when the guy that plays Red Foreman gets never mind, he's the one who drives through him, but one of his goons like gets acid spilled on him. He starts melting as he walks away, and then he gets hit by the car and explodes.
Oh my god.
Looked like that guy
Yeah,
with
and-
sunglasses on and more teeth.
Yeah, it almost reminded me of like a character in like the Spawn movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
Spawn
The
or
clown.
Blade
Yeah.
or something like that.
And so it kind of starts going really fast paced at this point. So
It's like things are happening.
yeah, things are happening.
I was getting a
and-
Midsummer vibe from all the naked dancing and chanting.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And Susie comes down very eloquently.
She's in a
and
sheer robe.
a shawl
She's in a negligee
and
gown.
and you can already tell something's kind of weird going on. Like you're just like,
You're in the basement. There's
Yeah.
35 naked witches dancing.
But as
and
far
a
as for-
goblin.
This is weird.
as far as for Susie's character goes, though,
Oh,
you're kind of
she's
just
very
like,
calm.
yeah, you're kind of just like, oh, there's like a shift, like
she's
in
giving.
her-
Well, right before that though, she basically shows her whole hand and she starts talking to, what's her name's character name again? Tilda Swinton's character, Mother
Madame Blanc.
Blanc. I keep
yeah,
forgetting
Madame
Blanc. She starts talking to Madame Blanc, a la The Shining, and she's just like, "Surprise! I can telepathically communicate with you." You know.
Oh yeah.
And Madame Blanc doesn't really think anything of it. She's like, "Oh, it's working. She's one of us now."
Yeah,
And that shift is fully realized when she goes into the basement, and she's just like, "I'm ready. This is what I came here for."
yep.
And she's like, "Oh, fucking great! And I gotta sacrifice this one, and Marcos is gonna go to power." And plot twist, that's not what happens.
She's Mother Suspiriorum.
She is actual a mother herself. She's one of the original, right? The
yeah,
original
she's
three.
she's
Yeah.
the original three witches, which they bring up in the beginning, and
Yeah.
she summons a
But
demon.
what it doesn't say
She
is that-
summons Satan.
what
I
it
feel
doesn't
like.
what it doesn't say is Madame Marcos actually one of the original three?
No, Madame Marcos was
I don't think she is.
pretending to
Yeah.
be one of
At,
them.
at one point, it does say in like the diary or somebody says Marcos claims to be one of the original three,
Yeah.
but I don't think she actually is.
No,
because
she's an
she
imposter.
basically gets fucking destroyed by
Yeah.
And then-
Suspirium.
In Suspiriorium, she already knew that she was a fake, so she was just like, fuck you. And then basically the whole ending scene is just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool. Fuck you.
Pretty much.
Well, she goes to every. This is where Danzig's mother starts playing.
Yeah.
So she
Except-
goes to like every. Well, actually, Mother Marcos first karate chops Madame Blanc telepathically in the back of her neck.
She force chops her.
Yeah, and
Her head almost comes off, but doesn't quite.
yeah, like,
Blood everywhere. Like
It's-
everywhere.
like
Everywhere.
yeah, starts spurting out Kill Bill style, and then she starts going on not a rampage, like a calm rampage, where she's asking a lot of the dancers.
I don't think she's actually saying it in real life. I think that's just for the audience to hear it.
Yeah.
Just to know why she's killing some of them and not
maybe it's
other ones.
telepathically.
Maybe. Yeah.
And she's asking. I can't remember what she's asking. She's saying, "Who do you serve?" or something like that.
Oh yeah,
No,
that's,
they say there can only be one mother.
yeah,
You can only serve one mother. Or no, death to all mothers or all other mothers.
yeah,
Yeah.
something to that effect.
And
But-
then
Everyone who voted for Marcos basically gets their head exploded.
yeah,
yeah,
Just go down the line, each one of them, head blown
yeah,
up.
just gusher style.
like a tick that just had too much blood and someone squished it.
Yeah, and then everybody. I mean, and the camera work is like the shutter
the-
speed is way down. Everything is very blurry.
Yeah.
And
I think it was to hide the effects
it's.
of the
I
head
mean,
exploding.
what is that room like? Filming in there, it's just.
Naked girls still dancing. They're just
Yeah.
still dancing.
Yeah, and half of them are. Half of them get their heads blown up.
Yeah.
And the other half are now worshiping her.
It really felt like that final scene felt like the shunting scene in
Sure.
society.
And this and like this is kind of. I mean, it's not obviously exactly the same as The Witch, because The Witch is about a girl who has like no other options, so she is confronted by
Yeah.
Lucifer, who just like, do you
It's
wish
not
to
as
live?
extreme.
Do you wish to live fergaliciously? And she says yes, and so she becomes a witch. She joins a witch coven.
She
This
gets
one
naked and flies around.
this one is more like predestined.
Yeah,
And
like she's the main
she
witch.
had
yeah,
been
she was always the
Suspirium.
main
Yeah.
witch, and she just needed to get to Berlin from Ohio.
But I did appreciate that they had a room full of naked women, and they really didn't.
Is that what you appreciate?
No, I'm saying they really didn't sit there and focus on it.
No, it wasn't a focal point.
It was non-sexual.
It was just primal.
And there was a couple times when you're kind of hearing two of the witches talk to each other, and earlier in the movie, and you're thinking there's a little bit of a lesbian vibe, but nothing happens from it, which was great because there
was no sexual.
It was almost no sexuality whatsoever, which was, I feel like,
you can have nudity without sexuality.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be just because two women are very close to each other and comfortable with each other's bodies. They don't have to be sexual about it, unless because they're witches.
I mean, there was one instance where
you can hate men and not be a lesbian.
Yeah, there's an instance of I think it's one of the nightmare sequences where she gets caught masturbating in a closet.
Oh, yeah.
And then she gets the iron on the hand.
Oh, is that what she got caught doing?
I'm pretty sure that's what she was doing.
Oh, that sucked.
Oh, yeah. The shutter speed in this scene, the camera work is very interesting.
It's kind of dreamlike.
It's like handheld. They're just going in a circle, basically. And the shutter speed is way low.
How did you think about the music playing in all of this carnage? I thought that was kind of interesting to use.
It was, it wasn't like they were playing horrifying violin string music or an organ or something. They were playing Tom York's beautiful falsetto voice and a piano during this mayhem, which was, I liked it. I liked the music in this movie is really good.
Yeah.
And I thought it was well placed and well made music.
And then we kind of get to the carnage happens and they're cleaning. You can see all the witches cleaning up the blood afterwards, just
oh god,
sweeping the bodies into a pile. It's what are they gonna do with those? What do you do with
this? Is the worst part of this
compost pile. You can get their old orange peels and cucumber scraps.
It's just it's funny. It's funny to think about that they show the aftermath.
Yeah.
The cleaning up, and it's god, this is the worst part of it. It's every year I gotta do this.
Every year,
in Pulp Fiction, something crazy happens. They shoot the dude in the face in the back seat, and then the next 10 minutes of the movie is them dealing with that. It's really funny to think about that.
Yeah.
So we're at the ending now, and I would almost consider this more of an epilogue rather than.
Well, they call it the epilogue.
Oh, do they?
What? There's chapters in the movie.
Oh,
that?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Chapter
right,
6 happens, and then the movie's supposedly over, and then there's an epilogue.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was so into this movie, I wasn't even paying attention to the chapter card titles. I almost forgot about that. Well, okay, so it truly is an epilogue in every sense of the word. So Susie or Suspiriorium. I don't know.
Susie Suspiriorium.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Sounds like a porn name.
Well, actually, it sounds like an actress who would be in a Danzig movie.
It's the same thing.
Goes to the old man, which
they're walking him out, and he's his shirt's untucked, and
he's unkempt.
He's oh god, what was I can't. They erase his memory later anyway.
Yeah, they do, but
why'd they do it there?
That was a weird choice. Yeah.
Now you have to live with this. Yeah, that was kind of a funny
I honestly don't remember anything after the finale scene.
It was so shocking.
Yeah, they walk him out. He's "Hey, don't forget your jacket." And Susie's walking him out. And
here's some taxi cab change.
He walks him back all the way to his house, and he's resting in his bed.
I don't think it's not Susie. It's that old lady that looks like George Costanza's mom from Seinfeld. Yeah, she's the one who's walking him out like they just had a one night stand.
And then Susie comes back.
Yeah, then Susie teleports to his bedside, and his carer was like, "How'd you get in here?" She's like, "Leave us." She's like, "Okay."
Okay.
She leaves the room, and then Susie is now talking to old man that's actually Tilda Swinton in makeup.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what he's. She tells him
what
truth
actually happened to his wife
about his wife, which I thought that was interesting. That was great. She's like God. She knows everything.
I know. I was how does she just know all this?
She knows everything.
I bought it. It's not a big deal.
She's that powerful of a
She
witch.
she just is
Yeah.
all knowing, very omnipotent or omniscient.
Yeah, and then she wipes
took-
his memory away.
Yeah, she took what do you say, like sympathy on this old guy who
Yeah.
went through so much for no reason at all. Like he was just like
It's a doctor.
all he
And-
was trying to do was just like help out, like, you know, these people.
But why did he even? I mean, to be honestly, if he was erased from the plot, what difference would there be? He was.
We wouldn't have the epilogue.
Yeah, there
That's
wouldn't be an
true.
epilogue, and she.
It would just be. I think that's maybe where the 2.5 hours comes in, as
Yeah.
opposed to the hour and a half,
Subplot.
because we have this. I mean, their characters doesn't exist in the original, right?
Mhm. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
And so there's like they just wanted to add another. I think this movie is probably way more emotional than the original,
Sure.
and partially because of the old man, because we feel sympathy for him because he lost his wife.
Maybe he's the protagonist.
Yeah, you know, maybe. And you know, we learn, his wife was lost, and then we find out the truth that she was put in a camp because she was caught at the border somewhere.
Yeah,
And
Nazi camp.
during the war, and she froze to death basically with some people she befriended.
a bunch of other members of the tribe that were in the concentration camp with them.
Yeah, and because they didn't believe her that she was born
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And essentially, he just gets to learn that his wife was thinking about him up to her
She didn't die.
dying breath.
She didn't die afraid.
She was cold but
Oh,
not afraid.
man, I got choked up on that because
It was
like
yeah, it was sad.
no words had to come from the old guy. Like the facial expressions alone were just like, you can tell like how much deep pain this was causing.
Yeah, it was very,
And-
very, very sad, and then the end scene is modern day his house,
Mhm.
and it's just a close up on the logo,
The carving.
not the logo, the carving,
heart.
And the logo,
the
of his
logo,
love.
the logo of his love, yeah, and it's the heart with the A and the J,
Yeah.
Yosef and Anka.
Yep. And I think it was really sweet of her to be like, you don't. It kind of alludes to her grand plan where she's gonna start feeding off of the shame and guilt of the human race, and she's like, you don't deserve to be fed off of, and erases his memory of all of the shameful and guilty things he feels, and then he's like a new man for like 5 more years.
Yeah,
Maybe
at most.
maybe that whole character was there so that there was an effective way to show that the witch wasn't all bad.
yeah,
Right.
That she still has morals, and this guy was truly an innocent through all this, and she's given him the best thing
Yeah.
he could ever have, is the last memory of his wife, closure about that, and get rid of all the shame and guilt that he has.
mm-hmm.
So,
Could have fixed his hearing though.
Sure, what the
yeah,
fuck?
I mean, come on, an all-powerful witch. They can't fix his old age.
All right.
So before we get into ratings, there's just a couple of highlight things that I want to bring out, and it's in the beginning of the movie. I really like the zoom up shots, like the very like jarring zoom up
Yeah,
shots
yeah,
of
yeah.
Madame Blanc, like her looking. Tilda Swinton has like this just like laser eye focus. Like
I had this thought because I saw that Tom York did the score,
uh-huh.
and then I was looking at Tilda Swinton. And I was like, if they ever make a Tom York biopic, I think Tilda
Oh,
Swinton
God,
would be the one to play Tom York.
Yeah, she'd do a good job.
Yeah, I agree. They have the same facial structure for sure. I really liked how this movie was edited, especially in the first brutal scene of Olga being disfigured, as well
Yeah.
as the performance that they were doing, like where they're all dancing. It just like cut to so many different angles, but it was so how do you put this, effective on how brutal the dance is.
Mhm.
It's very
Yeah.
physically like
Mhm.
taxing. So they did that very well with the camera work, and I think the overall like filter of the movie is very gloomy. I mean, you can hear the rain almost throughout the movie, and you
Yeah.
can see the gloominess. You can hear the rain. It kind of overall sets a mood that you don't need a score, much like the original one, to carry the movie. So
The tone of the movie.
do you guys have any last final thoughts on Suspiria?
I mean, I can include it in my ratings if we want to get into ratings.
Yeah, let's do it. I
Alright.
got some things to say with my rating too.
Okay, I'll go last on my rating. So Joseph, what do you give Suspiria?
I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 5. Very good, very disturbing movie that it made me feel uncomfortable. And if a movie can do that, I think the movie is worth something, and is saying something. And the filmmaking of this movie was really well done, as far as the editing and the camera work. The acting was really good. Music by Tom York was really well done. All of these pieces just fit so well together to make this movie very beautiful and dark and scary. And it is very much a horror movie. And it's not like it's a very weird movie for sure.
Yeah.
It's like horror, then it's drama, then it's historical.
Yeah. Well, this one specifically, it has more emotion to it because of the old man, I think. Yeah, I think it has like all the elements except comedy. But
Cool.
yeah, it's very, very good. Might revisit it in a while.
Yeah, I would give it.
I would probably watch that last scene again. Just because of like all the elements, the camera work and the music and what's happening, exploding heads. And was Tilda Swinton alive? Was Madame Blanc alive still?
Yes.
Yeah, she was
I
just
think that-
paralyzed.
That was the door they left open for the sequel.
Oh,
That's what I think.
Suspiria 2, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Which actually would kind of do well because there's a lot of voodoo magic in New Orleans.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you know.
So yeah, 4 out of 5.
I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5.
Oh, come on. 3.5.
Well, you didn't like it? Yeah.
I'm entitled to my goddamn opinions. I think it was really ambitious. It was. I wish it wasn't called Suspiria. I wish it was something else because it was very antithetical to the original. And
The only thing with that is that if it wasn't called Suspiria, people would say this is a ripoff of Suspiria.
I'd rather have a ripoff of Suspiria. No, it's you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with that because it is a story worth telling, and the original was great for very different reasons, and this one was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have reverence and respect for the original and still make something very different. It gives me a weird feeling when I'm like, this is Suspiria. Okay, I guess it's Suspiria. I mean, it's called that. So the things I really loved about it was that you could take a horror movie and didn't play it very easy. You know, it could have very easily have like not included those long dance routines in it, and that was technically very impressive. All the dancers that are played besides the two main ones, or three main ones, I guess, Dakota Johnson, whatever her name, Mia Goss, and Chloe Grace Moretz. The three besides the three of them, those are actually all dancers because they have no. I looked on IMDb, they have no credits besides this movie. So it was impressive to see those large scale routines.
Mm-hmm.
The great thing that the original did was it was very, very, very jarring with the sound usage, sound effects, and the soundtrack. But this one was just as jarring for like the actual sound effects of the actions of the movie. The first dance routine that she does to try out, they say, "Oh, I don't want to watch you dance with music. You have to do this solo." And you can hear her feet thundering on the ground.
Yeah.
You could feel her slapping, the ground beneath her, and it was really, really, really like you could like Tyler said, you could feel the intensity and the power behind the dance, and that was a theme in the movie that worked, and they made that very apparent as the dancers were dancing. Yeah. So I like that a lot. I really loved that Tom York was on board with this, and I thought his contribution to the movie was perfect.
Sure.
Every time I heard him singing, it was like, this is cool. It's like ethereal, you know, like
Yeah,
it gives you.
that's a good description.
Maybe I should actually try to listen to Radiohead.
I love Radiohead. In Rainbows was great, and they released that 100% free, which was like groundbreaking at the time.
Wait, you mentioned Radiohead, and you mentioned In Rainbows?
Yeah.
Not Kid A or OK Computer.
No, everybody knows about those. Those are great. But the aesthetic of the songs that he made for this movie fit more with In Rainbows than like.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
That's very true.
their earlier stuff. So, anyways, I liked it a lot. It lost me a little bit with some of like the over the topness, like, but that was also the charm of the movie. So it just didn't land on me as hard as it did with Joseph. But still, quality movie. You do not need to see the original. I think.
No, I think you should watch this one and then watch the original.
I agree. I think so. I think go do it backwards. But if you watched the remake and you were not a fan of it, I have a recommendation instead to take the place. It's called Barbarian Sound Studio, and it is focused more on the audio horror than any other movie I've ever seen. And it gave me feelings of the original Suspiria in a big way. And it was made in like 2008 or something like that. So,
all right.
3.5 for me.
There was something about Marcos, Mother Marcos, who was she looked very. There was like the moment where she's like an Igor, like a Frankenstein, where she's like, "It's happening, it's happening."
Yeah, that made me laugh out loud.
I couldn't not laugh at that character.
Yeah, it was
over the top.
Yeah, it was so over the top. Yeah.
What's your rating?
So
Kyle?
my rating is a 4 out of 5. It's entered into one of my favorite movies, and I really like.
Oh, that's cool.
Beat the Blair Witch.
Did you guys notice the witch, like the Blair Witch, like the shape? You know, like the iconic logo of the Blair Witch,
twigs.
So yeah, the witch, like that logo, that symbol made with the sky shot of all the dancers that were in that shape.
Interesting.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it was a pentagram.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't know if it was supposed to be that, but that's what it looked like to me.
Well, even if it wasn't, like, I think that shape is still very effective for
Is
describing
that just a
witches.
witch?
It's like a witchy
A
thing.
witch
catch-all
shape?
witch.
It's not
Yeah.
necessarily the Blair Witch thing. It's just a
just-
witch emblem logo, the witch logo.
Yeah, well, that's what maybe so. I really, really love this movie, which is what I remember when I put it on the wheel. Pete, you were frustrated because you're like, I wanted to watch this movie. Now I gotta wait.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to watch it.
So I'm glad that we got to watch it so soon. It's definitely a movie.
Like the Fifth Element's been on there for like 9 years.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
That's the longest one so far. Maybe the Lighthouse as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, real quick before you can get back to your thing, I met a couple of people this weekend who named their daughter Lilu after Lilu Dallas. From Fifth Element. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, very cool. One of my sister's friends, and I said, Lilu, that's a cool name. Is it short for something? And she goes, yeah, I can't really remember the full version of the name.
Oh, from the movie.
I'm
yeah.
So it's Lilo Dallas then? And she goes, yes. And they threw her a Fifth Element themed 5th birthday party when she turned 5 and dressed her up like Lilo. It was great.
Wow, that's hilarious.
With the orange, the
orange suspenders and the white shirt and pants. Yeah.
I think one of the final thoughts I have on this movie is that I really liked how they alluded that the main Suspiriorium witch had already been in this girl's body, like ever since she was a little kid, guiding her, planting the seed until she gets to the climax of the movie. And it's kind of also alluded that the mom knows that she's evil too, because in her bed, deathbed, she says, if I had one thing in my life that I regretted was giving birth to Susie, which I interpreted as that she knew that
she was my sin. That's what she says.
So I like that allusion to her already being evil. But she's not really evil, though. I guess evil is really arbitrary in this sense of the world. 4 out of 5. Great movie. You do not have to watch the original, although a lot of the shots from the original are in this movie, which I appreciated a lot. This is how a remake should be done. And with that said, we are going to race it off of the wheel.
Goodbye, Suspiria.
And then I'm going to add a movie that you guys will both love and our listeners.
It's
This is going to be the movie pick that gets me off of this show.
Is this the Greasy Strangler?
No, it's not the Greasy Strangler. We've already said enough about the Greasy Strangler.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so take off Suspiria, and we add the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about this movie the other day.
And this is why it's relevant, is because the anniversary
Come on.
the anniversary of this movie happened this last week.
People are recognizing the anniversary of this movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be released on 4K Blu-ray.
Starring Jim Hoskin and
John
Leguizamo.
Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Dennis Hopper
Yep.
Yeah.
as King Koopa.
Koopa or Goomba?
Koopa. Who's Koopa? Goombas
Yeah,
are his little,
are the turds.
his little minions. Super Mario.
That don't look anything like the Mario game.
No.
Not at all. This is basically just like a steampunk version.
I used to
of
watch
Super
this movie
Mario.
a lot as a kid.
It's Big Bertha, the bouncer at the Boom Boom Club. Or it's Boom Boom Room. Yeah, I watched this just recently with Justice and Brianna and exposed
No
them
shit.
to it. Yeah, because we watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
Oh,
And
it was
then-
in that time.
and then we were
too.
talking. I was talking about Jim Hoskin.
Yeah, his greatest role.
Yeah, that was his greatest role. And then he played Mario in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Mario?
They explained that Mario is also their last name, so it's Mario and
Luigi Mario?
Yes.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I picked this movie because I was trying to think of I'm not gonna put another horror movie on there, and I don't want to put like an overtly bad movie.
And I don't
want
to put a good movie on there. God forbid.
Yeah, I want to put.
I already put a good movie on there.
Yeah, Veronica.
Yeah, so Super Mario Brothers is on the wheel now, and so now
It's
we
streaming
are
anywhere.
No, actually, it's not available anywhere on the internet.
I have it downloaded.
You can't even rent it?
No, you can't rent it
Oh
at
my
all
God.
because I tried watching it. And you can't. You need the DVD or the VHS or what have you.
On that topic, I was going to say we can watch it here if you guys want next weekend. But that's not going to happen because his last two picks were Tyler's, so he's a
No.
2-term limit rule.
Out the wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I'm
This is going to be a mere Joseph pick.
relinquishing.
Okay, you guys ready for the spin? I'm gonna. Actually, you know what? I need a
Okay.
recap.
Recap.
We have Super Mario Brothers from Tyler just recently, The Fifth Element from Pete, The Lighthouse from Tyler, E.T. the Extraterrestrial from Pete,
Oh yeah.
Pete's wildcard pick, New York Minute, starring Dr. Drew and the Olsen twins, Inner Space from Joseph, The Last Black Man in San Francisco from Joseph, and Joseph's wildcard pick, Mac and Me.
I'm
And-
interested in what that is.
Here we go. This is going to determine the movie that we watch next week and review on this podcast.
I think I already know what it's gonna be.
Which one? Which one?
Mac and
Mac
Me.
and Me.
Mac and Me from Joseph.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so this is a wild card pick.
Mac and Me. Starring
Wait, we're actually watching
Mac and Me.
Mac and Me, starring Ronald McDonald,
I thought we weren't. Oh,
No, we're
man.
not watching Mac and Me.
Okay, thanks.
starring Paul Rudd.
Oh,
Okay.
I would have a problem.
So Mac and Me, obviously, we're not going to be watching that. I tried watching that once, but I fell asleep.
It's fucking bad. It's really dumb.
Paul Rudd has a running joke
Yeah.
on Conan,
Conan.
where he
Oh,
promotes
that-
he promotes whatever movie that he's in, but he just shows a clip from Mac and Me of the kid falling off a cliff in a
Yeah,
wheelchair.
pushed down the cliff in the wheelchair. Oh my god.
So Mac and Me, the MacGuffin, we will be watching You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix.
The faux documentary.
No, that's
Oh,
I'm Still Here.
I am still.
This is You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, where he plays a hitman, I believe. The synopsis of this movie: a traumatized veteran, unafraid of violence, tracks down missing girls for a living. When a job spins out of control, Joe's nightmares overtake him as a conspiracy is uncovered, leading to what may be his death trip or his awakening. Starring Joaquin Phoenix as Joe.
So he's gonna be
Joe.
He's gonna be a bat. Joaquin Phoenix as a badass.
Yeah.
He's going to take the Denzel role in this one.
So
I feel
it's
like there was a lot of other.
it's like if
people in
they
here.
took the one scene from Drive where he has a hammer and he goes to the strip club and they extend it into a whole movie starring Joaquin Phoenix. 'Cause that's like his weapon of choice, from what I believe.
Oh, cool. So
Or
it's-
they took Leon the Professional, starring a young Natalie Portman and French guy,
French guy.
and made it way more violent.
yeah, interesting. Hammer of choice, weapon of choice is the hammer, huh?
You were never really here streaming on Prime.
Amazon Prime. All right, cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Middle Class Film Class. As we said earlier, send us your streaming recommendations or your movies that you want to see on the wheel, and maybe
Yes.
we'll stick it on a wild card pick.
Yeah, I think we're gonna put a listener's wild card. pick
Yeah,
on
that'd be
there.
good.
Got it.
Yeah, we have. So my wild card is off. Who has it next? Is it
It
you?
would be
Pete?
Tyler, no, because I have one on there.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so listeners, I'm relinquishing my wild card pick spot for you guys. So
We can do names in a hat for the ones that Michael sent us.
Yeah.
Primer and all those.
oh,
Had a good one. So you could do
good one.
Ricky O, The Legend of Ricky. So we'll leave that up to you, Tyler. But if you want to get yours in before the deadline, email us now so we can get your recommendations in before next week.
Yeah.
And also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast. Send us those email recommendations or just your feedback on the show at mcfcpodcast@gmail.com. Tyler's manning our Instagram page at Middle Class Film Class.
Yeah, just DM me, send me your memes, send me your anything.
And
Actually,
Yeah.
I want hate mail for once.
Tell me what you don't like.
Yeah.
and rate us on iTunes if you listen to us on iTunes. I've heard that helps. Give us a good rating or a little review.
5 stars only.
Yeah. And until next week, thanks for listening.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
I'm entitled to my goddamn opinions.